Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So today we are going to take these dark brown bookcases that worked really well with our old house and we're going to lighten them up. We're going to get them painted white so they match our new home decor and it's a much brighter bookshelf experience. So the first thing we did is we took some of the pieces apart that were damaged during our move and we fixed those up. So we fixed those. Then we wanted to sand down all the surfaces. Even though it's got like a wood grain to it, we wanted to give it a good sanding. So we sanded it with 150 grit sandpaper. Then we came back and went over it with a 220 grit sandpaper. Then we wiped everything down and we got ready to put our kills on. So our kills is our primer and stain blocker all in one. So we did that. We actually did 2 coats of kills because they were super dark and we wanted them bright white and we wanted them to match our trim work and that sort of thing with our house. So we got the same paint for that. So we painted twice with the primer to give it a good coat. Then we gave it a little bit of a light sand in some spots where it picked up some debris or things like that. And then we got ready for our finish coat. So our finish coat is really a standard base, it's a trim-based, cabinet-based paint that we got at Behr. I'll put a link in the description below to what that is. And we gave these things at least 3 coats. So the first coat, you could still see a shadowing through it. The second coat, there was just a few little pieces I wasn't really a fan of. And then the third one is we really came in, put everything in here, and we touched up the stuff where you could see it the most. So we did that. Then we came back and these were all dark as well. So all of these little cabinet identifiers or whatever you want to call these things, plus these poles were all very dark. And so we wanted to lighten those up. So we got a can of spray paint that was good for metal. And I'll put a link in the description below to that spray paint. And we sprayed these multiple times as well. So the cool thing is I took each of the screws out. This is just one of the things that we've always done. And we just lined the screws up into this, which had, just poked little holes in cardboard. That's all we did. So it made it really easy so the screws stood up so we could spray the heads of the screws to make them gold to match the trim work that was done with the rest of this. So we did that as well. The last step for these is we took a water-based acrylic paint and we basically sprayed each of the tops of the shelves. We did that so they didn't have stickiness to them. So you shouldn't really have a lot of stickiness, but we wanted it to last a little better, and so we wanted to give it a finish coat or a final coat over it. So it's clear. So it's really easy. You do a quick spray can of it. We'll put a link in the description below to what that spray can is. You want a water-based with this because sometimes with the oil-based, you'll get like a yellowish tinge to it from the oil of it. So you want a water-based to do this if you don't want to lose some of your original color of the paint that you had. So we did each of just the top parts of all of the shelves so that they have a little bit more durability to them. Last thing we did is we brought them back into the house. We had a couple things to do to make them fit really well. So we took a piece of trim work out at the bottom over here so we could get it butted up against the baseboard. Normally what I would do is I'd take that entire baseboard out and I'd shove it completely flat up against the wall. But it fit really well based on our window and we wanted to make sure it was kind of centered between the two. So the window trim and this little gap right here match on both sides so it looks symmetrical across the office. And so that's it. We put them back in here. And then one other thing I did is I wanted to make sure these seams stayed really tight together. So behind the top shelves, I just drilled a tiny little hole and I put a screw in there. And so that screw goes right into the next cabinet over. And you can see you're never going to see it on this side because it is behind the shelf. So even if you did go through, it's sitting behind both shelves. But I made sure the screw depth wasn't going to go through the other side. I did that on the top, I did that on the bottom so that you have a really tight seam here and that they won't come apart from it, and it gives it a lot more stability as well. So that's it. That's how we transform those dark old cabinets into bright and gold, I guess, cabinets. So Holly's gonna fill these back up. We'll show you a before and after with all of her stuff back on it. It's gonna look beautiful. It lightens up the office and it keeps our Charleston home nice and white. So thanks so much for watching. Super thanks as always. Welcome. Give us a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. We'll show you more do-it-yourself things as well as cool products that we like.